Good morning. Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, Instagram. It's Thursday. It's 9:30 time. It is Cotton Cuts Live. We've got a really good show for you guys today. We're going to be talking about quilt shows today. We just had a big one for us over this past weekend, and we thought it'd be a good opportunity for those of you that may have never gone to a quilt show to kind of talk about quilt shows and all the different types that are available for everyone to attend. So good morning, good morning. I see people checking in from all over. It seems like the general consensus is cold and rainy. So it is definitely cold and windy and rainy here in St. Louis. We had some tornadoes last week on Friday. We had about 5 touchdown in the St. Louis metro area, which is unprecedented for us. We had lots of people lose power. I always prefer to kind of look at, everyone is safe. So it's a good opportunity to clean out that fridge if you're out of power for a couple of days and get rid of all of those things that you don't need. So, live in the Midwest. That's kind of the thing we have. It's, we could have hurricanes in the south, earthquakes in the west. We'll take what we can get. So good morning, everybody. I hope everyone's getting lots of sewing in today, as cold and windy and rainy as it is. I think Kim is the only one that's saying it's sunny in Minnesota, which is the place I would expect to have snow at this time of year. So I think, Kim, it's good that it's a sunny day for you. All right. We're going to start, as we do every show, with questions that are submitted by you guys. So go to cottoncuts.com/live. These questions are sitting here when I sit down. I have not seen them ahead of time, and so we will all be surprised together. All right. Our first question comes to us from Genevieve Garcia from Clovis, New Mexico. Hello, Genevieve. Thanks so much for your question. Genevieve asks, if I'm already a classic member, how do I switch to platinum and still keep my fabric preferences? Okay, so this is a fantastic question, Genevieve. Thank you so much for asking. So platinum, for those of you, I think we talked about platinum 2 weeks ago now. So platinum is the new Cotton Cuts membership that is the ultimate choice. So you sign up for platinum, and each month you'll get your choice of classic, Modern Maker, Java, or Chroma Super Pop. So those are our big memberships. Those are the ones that we've had in Cotton Cuts for a long time. And we've always had people that have had to contact us and switch between the two. So switch between them. So what we did is we launched Platinum. And so Platinum is a membership, and each month you'll get an email from us, and it'll share with you what the classic fabrics are for that month, what the Modern Maker fabrics are, what the Chroma thread is, and what the Java batik is, and then you get to pick, and that's the bundle we send you that month. And so if you're a current member, you have to reach out to us. Simply send us a note to help@cottoncuts.com, and we will get you converted from your current membership into the platinum membership. And we'll keep all of those preferences. Our team has a system in place that if you do choose to get a classic this month, you'll get, I like this, I don't like this, I want that. Please don't send me this, and I would absolutely be thrilled to receive this. Our team has a process in place to be able to manage all of that. So if you do choose a classic and you're a member of Platinum, we'll get all your preferences transitioned over. So we love Platinum. You guys are jumping on board with this. I am super excited to see how much love there is for this. This is one of these things, I've wanted to do it for a long time, but I wanted to make sure we had the technology and the process in place to do it. And so now we do. And so we're doing it. And it's great. And I'm glad you guys are loving on board with that. All right. Yes. Happy spring, Kathy. It is definitely a spring. This roller coaster. I'm a spring person. I love spring. I love the idea of, transitioning out of dreary winter into summer. But man, these cold days when it snaps you back into reality, I could definitely do with less of these. All right. So Genevieve, thank you so much for your question. If you want to learn about Platinum, Paula had the website up, cottoncuts.com/platinum, to learn more and all about it. All right, our next question comes to us from Marlene Gunston from Miles City, Montana. Thanks for the question, Marlene. I love seeing all the creative quilt labels out there. What are some fun ways to label my quilts beyond just writing my name on the back? Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys, how do you quilt label your quilts? How do you mark and label your quilts? So there's, Marlene, there are like 1,000 different ways to do this. So there are, you can take very, very simply, the way I used to do it before I knew about all these other ways, was I would take a scrap piece of fabric and I would either machine embroider or I would hand embroider the name in it. Like who made it? Me. I made it. Who made it, when it was made, who it was for, and just maybe perhaps a quote or something that I wanted to put into the quilt. And so what I used to do is I would take that fabric and I would stitch it into one of the corners as kind of a little pocket. And so it would have all the information there. And because it was stitched, I knew it would never wash out or fade, and it would stay there for a long time. I think some of the ways of just writing your name on the back, right? You have to be careful with which pen you use. You can definitely do the same thing and use a pen. There are pens that are more permanent than others. Don't use a permanent marker because permanent markers bleed and they turn yellow and brown. Let's see here. So Terry, yes, that was an airplane. So we have airplanes again. With the wind, even with the wind, airplanes are still flying, and you might hear some screaming children. So it's spring break here in St. Louis. So all of our neighbors to the left and right have kids activities going on, and they have been screaming up a storm, I guess. Better here than at their house. But so you might hear some screaming children. I promise you, nobody's being tortured. It is literally the gymnastics place on this side and then the Go Play on this side. So, all right. So I'm seeing I had tags made from the Dutch label company. It was pricey, but for me, it was worth it. So yes. So Savannah's suggestion is that the next way is if you don't want to just take the piece of fabric and either write on it or hand stitch on it, you can go online and go to Etsy and search for quilt labels. And you can find companies that'll either send you the quilt label that has blanks in it. So made by, on, for, right? And so you can handwrite on those with the pre-printed fashion. You can get super fancy with it and actually get them made with your name on it that comes to you printed. And so then you can just stitch that into your quilt. There's also a ton of panels. I think we have one in the shop right now that's a Very Hungry Caterpillar that is a panel that has a whole bunch of different frames for quilt labels that can be fused onto the back of your quilt and then stitched around for that finishing touch. And then if you just want to have something fun, so we have these quilt labels in our shop. So these are what we had made that we put these in a whole bunch of different things. And they're cute little sayings. So I know this is backwards on Instagram, but it says handmade with love, perfectly imperfect. This took forever. This is my favorite. I like that this took forever. Thread, sweat, and tears. Yes, I bet you nobody here knows anything about that one. One of a kind, and this is the back. Sometimes, I'm a crazy piecer of the backing. Sometimes it's hard to tell which is the front and the back. So those, you can also just stitch those into the quilt as well. It's just kind of a funny little tag to just add some personality. You can also get quilt labels that have kind of that funny, whimsical type of statement on it that you can also write on as well. Made by Misty. So you can also get fabric that you can run in your home printer at your house. So Misty says she uses fabric sheets you can use in your home printer to add all kinds of notes and pics. Yes. At the quilt show we were at this past weekend, there was a whole challenge to quilt members to print pictures and integrate them into a quilt design. And so this idea of being able to print on a home printer and then integrate it into your quilt design is definitely something. I think it's been around for maybe 10 or 12 years. That's been an option. And Misty's also saying a bottom back corner with name, date, and a special note. Yes, that is another, like any sort of thing you want to put on there, you can. There are no rules here, guys. And for me, frankly and honestly, by the time I get to the end of my quilt, I usually get it all done. I get it bound, and then I'm like, oh man, I forgot to put a quilt label on it because I'm so tired. By the time I get to the end, I forget to do it. So I'm lucky if I can even fuse something on there. But I think this is one of those, it's a nice thing to finish off a quilt. So that way when it is found in 5 or 10 years, or if like I have some notes on mine now, and it's always a good reminder of when it was gifted to me by whom and for what reason. All right. Thanks so much for your question, Marlene. That's very awesome of you. Thanks so much for asking quilt labels. If you guys are seeing this on a replay and have a suggestion for quilt labels, definitely put those in the comments, and Marlene will be inspired by you guys. All right. So if you have a question for us next week, go to cottoncuts.com/live, submit those. We will answer them here on the show and see if our audience can help me out as I stumble through these. All right. Don't forget to give StreamYard your permission so we can see your name. I see everyone's doing that. That's fantastic. And we, of course, have a giveaway. So be sure to stay to the end for a $25 gift card to our shop. This one's going to be fun. I hope you guys, I can't wait to see the creativity that you guys put forth with this. All right. Updates. What's happening in the shop? So we have a lot this week, you guys. There is a lot of good news coming. So hang with me for all of these. So the first, I'm going to take us back to our last puzzle mystery quilt. And for that, we actually had, a quilt is Tree of Life, and we had a quilt that was made here by Team Cotton Cuts. We took turns and sewed all the months together. And we're going to be donating this finished quilt to an organization that my friend works with that is going to raise money for breast cancer awareness. And so that quilted finished quilt came back to us, and it is so stinking cute. So this was done by friend of the show, Beth Goody. So Beth quilted this for us. You can see she used some beautiful red thread. I'm not going to unwrap it. Paula, I think she'll cut off my hands if I try to unwrap this on the show. But you can see it has all sorts of breast cancer awareness fabrics in it. And so this quilt is going to be auctioned. It'll be donated by us and then be auctioned off to raise money for breast cancer research. And so we are so excited that Team Cotton Cuts came, put this together. Thank you so much to Beth for quilting it for us. That is super awesome of you to do that. All right, next update. So Floral States, holy cow. All right, so I am so excited, guys. We are this close to Floral States being done. So Floral States is you're going to get the last 2 months together and all those border strips, guys. There are a lot of strips that are coming with this. And then we get to put them all together. So something you can be doing while you're waiting for these to arrive to you is thinking about what states you want to put in what order. Do you want to do them as we shipped them, which is the way they became a state in the United States? Or do you want to do it alphabetically? Or do you want to do it in proximity to where you live now? So be thinking about how you want to lay it out, because when you get these last 10 states and you get the border kits, knowing the order is going to take you a chunk of time. So you can get started on that now. The last 10 states are going to come, guys. These are my favorite ones. These are where I grew up, right? So these are the big square states on the west side of the United States, as well as some islands, and then the big state with lots of islands. So these states are really cool. They were fun to design. I am so glad to be done with this project, and I cannot wait to see them come together for you guys. So definitely be thinking about what order and what layout you want to use, because that's going to be your hardest part. And so pull out all those blocks, start looking at them now. Do you want to put them in color order? Think about it now, so that we all have a plan and be able to finish up this quilt as soon as possible. Our next update is Tim Holtz. So for Tim Holtz, we finally getting back on track with this program. We've got all the fabric we need from Free Spirit. And so we have the yellow, but we also received the neutral. And so I said last week that if we got the neutral in time, we would ship them both together. So what we're going to do is ship the yellow and the neutral together. So while you're getting yellow late, you're also going to get neutral early. So you're going to get both of those blocks together. And Paula cut some of these neutral fabrics or Paula pulled some of these fabrics. I could show you what the neutral collection is. So neutral has kind of this they all have a cream ecru kind of background to them. It's a much softer color than what we've seen, but is still very low volume and still has the classic Tim Holtz vibe to it. So these are the vintage stamps in neutral. Here is some vintage typography from a newspaper. Basically, it's got I like this one. I wish it was kind of a whole bunch of this typewriter print right here with the rounded buttons. I love that. And then, of course, the collage print, which comes in all of the colorways as well. So we have all of our neutral fabrics here. So they are absolutely lovely. We are going to get neutral and yellow out to you guys on the same time, and then we'll be back on track. And our team is going to be all caught up. And from here forward, you're going to get them on time. They're going to ship out on the 8th. We're going to do neutral and yellow now. And then for the next 12 months, you'll be able to see them all. Now, all of the next 12 months blocks are on the website. So if you want to get in and jump in and get your stitchets, if you want to jump in and get any of your pillow kits, make sure you get those in now, because we're very limited in what we can do. We've had a lot of people join the program later, and so that means we can offer less of those other things. So if you're interested in it and you love it and you want it, definitely go in and order those now. So Terry, will be selling any of the Tim Holtz yardage? Yes, we do. So we have to wait, per our agreement with Free Spirit, we have to wait about 3 months to be able to put it on our website. So we are in the process of putting up the early fabrics, but we are also selling a lot of the kits too. So we don't have that much yardage. We are going to try to. I would encourage you to go to quilt shops that are participating in the program and see if you can acquire yardage from them. I know that feels like a Miracle on 34th Street, Macy's Gimbals thing, but we, unfortunately, with the way that we have worked with Free Spirit, we have to wait a couple months till we ship it before we can put it on our website. And so we will. But if you're interested in getting those yardages now, I would suggest there's a lot of shops participating in acquiring it from them if you want just yardage. Okay. That is our Tim Holtz update. Now, we also, because you guys have been so awesomely patient in this, as we've been navigating problems getting fabric from the manufacturer and then constraints here in the shop with attendance and illness and all the tornadoes and snow that we've had, I feel like we have had like 6 years of weather in just the first 2.5 months of this year. All right, so we are going to have a special host. We're hosting a special sign up. So if you go to cottoncuts.com/Tim Holtz, Paula has put an entry form there to enter your email address. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick one or probably two lucky people who are going to win the whole quilts for orange. And so what this is this is one of the petal patterns. And it was given to us by Free Spirit, and it is a whole cloth quilt. So you can receive this and you can put batting on it and backing on it. And it looks like you've pieced all these. In actuality, it's digitally printed on here, and you will have a ginormous quilt in these fabrics. So if you go to cottoncuts.com/Tim Holtz, enter your email address, we're going to give away one or probably two lucky people these whole quilt panels to be able to stitch together and make a finished quilt. And so I believe we still have red and orange. And so that's something to be on the lookout for. All right. Let's see here. Stephanie Shell, can you sign up for the States now, or has it been closed? So that's a fantastic question, Stephanie. So what we're going to do is we got to get these out the door first. And then what we will do is we will put whole kits on the website. So you'll be able to buy all 50 states as well as the finishing strips in one shipment with the fabrics that we have left and for as long as we can. We are also going to be listing those the state fact cards. We will come up with kits of those because that's fun and that's collectible. And when I was a kid, I used to love to get those and memorize those. And so we will also be putting those in packs on the website. Let us get through getting everything out for those that have been participating. Unfortunately, since we're so close to the end, it's hard to sign you up on a monthly or a prepaid. So give us a chance to get all those bundles together, get that inventoried and onto the website. All right, Stephanie, I hope that helps. Let's see here. Yeah, Savannah, those whole quilts are a lot of fun. I know Kim, who's watching us, she won our very first one, pink. And so I hope she pops in and lets us know what she thinks of it. Okay. In the category of things that have shipped, Modern Maker has shipped and Classic is shipping today. We have been on time. I am impressed with the team. We have been on time with all of our chromas, our Javas, our Modern Maker, our Classics, and our stitchets, and we are getting those out of here on time, even with all the other things that we are dealing with. So fantastic work by the Cotton Cuts team. Don't forget, Platinum starts shipping next month. We already talked about that top of the show, but if you're interested in joining our Platinum, you have to reach out that email. That email goes out on the first of the month. And then if you sign up after the first, you have to wait until the next month. Again, the process and the system and how it works. Oh, and the biggest news, Mystery 5.0. So that is next Saturday on March 29th. So we've been talking about this a lot. If you haven't joined the Cotton Cuts group for Mystery 5.0, definitely pop over. That's the latest and greatest place to get all the information on it. Don't forget to shop your stash. You're going to want to do that ahead of time. And you can definitely purchase fat quarter bundles from other shops. So you can get in on that as well. Josie's talking about postal service. Yeah, let's come back to that when we talk about Flyaway, because we are having some fun opportunities there as well. So we launched our stitchets over the weekend, and the solid stitchets, I am blown away. I was at the quilt show and I had people coming up to me like, I want to get on the website and order these solids. They are absolutely in love with the solid stitchets. And so we started first with neutrals. So we went black, white, creams, grays, and browns. Be on the lookout. We're going to keep doing that because I'm glad that you guys liked that and that you liked having those pre-cut solids. And you can use them with our stitchets, or you can use them in just a general project. It's a good way to have a lot of solid fabric that you don't have to cut, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm not super excited to cut solids. I would rather, fussy cut up big graphic prints. The solid, it's not super fun for me. So I'm glad we're able to do that for you and give a boost to you as well. Don't forget to sign up for Cuddle Books. So our Cuddle Books, I have an example. And so this month, this cute little book is included, and it's Our Little Stinker. And so here is the tail. Each month they have a little extension. And so this one has a cute little skunk's tail. And of course it's got all the ribbons. I think Cheryl made this one. I'm sure I'm going to be fixed if it was Cheryl. Yes, Cheryl made this one. And so as always, this cute little cuddle book. And so you'll have your choice of 3 books. This is one of the 3, but man, this tail is too much to pass up. All right. So definitely when you get that email, respond and let us know which book we can send you. I see here Savannah is saying she sent her grandma one of Allison Glass's stitchets for her birthday and absolutely loves it. She's so excited. So that's fantastic, Savannah. That Allison Glass stitchet is so much fun. We only have a few left, so get in if you would like some. All right. So moving into Flyaway. So thankfully for Flyaway, all of the prepaid kits are out of the door. We have, I think, maybe 3 or 4 more to go today. we have been having a heck of a time with the postal service on these guys. And so they all have tracking on them. So, super transparent for these flyaway prepaid kits. And you can see that one of them went to Puerto Rico on its way to Boston from St. Louis. We are also having a lot get lost. And so I've had to file more insurance claims for these flyaway prepaids than we've ever had in the past. Normally, we hand them to the postal carrier, out the door they go, and we are pretty sure they're going to make it within a week. This has been super challenging. So if you are tracking your packages and it gets lost or it looks like it's going in a wayward direction, our team can initiate a lost package request, and then we'll have to do an insurance claim. But that means we're also then going to have to stop and remake it in order to ship it to you. So just be super patient with us. I know that it's one of those guys, like, it's as frustrating for us as it is for you, because we, put time and care into it. We hand it to the postal carrier and then it gets lost. They're doing the best they can. I guarantee you that person that hands you your package is not the person that got lost in Texas and some of the sorting machine. So just everyone be patient. It's fabric. Thankfully, it's not going to age. It's not going to deteriorate over time. As it arrives, you can get caught up. It's a 10-month program. So you get a chance to, corner out some time. And so 2 months altogether. And, we're doing the best we can. Everyone in this process is doing the best they can. And so I promise you, I saw someone who was really sad that she was the last one to get it. And so unfortunately, the way we do it is we do all one colorway at a time. And so if you were those rose finchers, I am so very sorry that you were the last colorway. It has to be someone. And so you guys, everyone will be on track. And in 3 months, we're never going to remember this, because we're going to be back on track and happily sewing months 5, 6, and 7. Jana, your flyaway arrived yesterday. I think you were a Phoenix, and that shipped from here like 3 weeks ago. So again, things are wonky. Everyone's going to survive. It's just fabric, guys. And the finished quilt is going to be worth it, because flyaway is amazing. All right. So with that, our signups are going to close on April 4th. And so what that means is signups are going to close for all of our month-to-month detectives. So we had a social influencer posting. We've had a lot of month-to-month people join us. We're so excited by that. It is definitely not too late to join if you're going to join us month-to-month. All of our backings and our borders are going to be closing that day as well, because that's the day we place the order with the manufacturers in order to make sure we have all the fabric here to fill all of your orders. So definitely look to sign up by April 4th. If you've got a friend that's on the fence, they have until April 4th. So what happens then is April 4th is when we close signups, because we start preparing for our next puzzle mystery quilts. I know it feels like we're just getting through flyaway, and now we just start thinking about the next one. So I can share with you guys the theme of the next puzzle mystery quilt. The next 10-month program is going to be Under the Sea. And when I heard this, I was thinking Marty McFly, Back to the Future, like 1950s prom called. But we are under the sea. So be thinking about under the sea creatures, features, everything under the sea is the theme. And I know you guys did a fantastic job submitting names and nominations last week for themes. And so under the sea was a super popular one. It fit with the design. And so that is the theme that we are selecting. And so that sign up is going to launch at the end of May. Now on this one, guys, I am super looking forward to this, because we have both pieces of equipment in place and validated. So it's not like we're starting and we have to wait 6 weeks to get a loaner piece of equipment. Both of our new die presses are in place and operational. It is the summer. So I am really hoping there isn't some massive viral outbreak. Also, no snowstorms in the summer. So I am very much looking forward to the next mystery. Everything shipping on time, everything being in good order. It is going to be fantastic. And so I am optimistic about what's going to happen for their next mystery in May. All right. I think that's everything with the traditional puzzle mystery quilts. Now, we are, as we're talking about quilt shows, and we'll start talking about quilt shows in just a minute here, our team has created on the Cotton Cuts Vault website, so cottoncutsvault.com, a virtual quilt show experience. And so what we're going to talk about, we were at a quilt show, we had a booth. And so what we did is we were like, but you guys can't all fly to St. Louis and be able to participate. So Lincoln and Dominic and I have been creating a virtual quilt show shopping experience on the Cotton Cuts Vault. And so everything we had at the quilt show, we've uploaded to the website, and we've put all the same pricing in place And so that way, if you weren't able to join us at Queenie Park this past weekend, you can still participate with all the other quilters that came by our booth and enjoyed all the fun things that Cotton Cuts has to offer. Greta Sobel, remember the mermaids? Yes, we've had mermaids in a couple mystery quilts. And when we die cut the mermaids, we get mermaid butts, we get unicorn butts. It's always fun whenever we put animals or creatures into the mystery quilt to see kind of what part. I love it when we cut them on the die cutter and it like centers a face or something right in the middle and it's perfect. That is, you've won the lottery. You need to go and buy a lottery ticket. Kim's talking about her pink Tim Holtz panels. Gorgeous. She's getting monthly stitches. So it's backing. Yes. So don't forget, cottoncuts.com/Tim Holtz. Enter your email address to be entered to win the orange panel. Let's see here. Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Seas. Yes, we're looking forward to this Under the Seas. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of fun thematic things and we'll make it work. It's going to be amazing. Okay, don't forget to stay to the end of the show because we're giving away a $25 gift certificate to one person who answers our key questions. So, main event. Quilt shows. So the catalyst for this is Cotton Cuts participated as a vendor in a quilt show this past weekend. And we also had 2 employees who traveled to a quilt show in Branson, Missouri. And so we're like, there's a whole bunch of quilt shows going on. What if someone's never been, has been afraid to go, or doesn't even know what it is? So why don't we talk about it on the show today to give you confidence to be able to attend and possibly even enter a quilt in a quilt show. So in general, at its highest level sense, a quilt show is a quilt art exhibit. And so some group, most likely a guild, but sometimes a sponsoring organization, gathers together a whole bunch of quilts and puts them on display, much like an art gallery opening, thus the quilt show element to it. And so they're usually thematic. And so the quilt show that we were at was put on by a local quilt guild, Bits and Pieces. And so this is 2 years worth of work on their members. Some of them are just, hey, I made a really cool quilt. I want to enter it into your quilt show and put it in as a general admission. Some are the guild issued challenges, like the picture challenge we talked about, or they have an active art guild. And so they have art quilts, or they'll have a special challenge fabric, or they'll make special purses. And so the idea is at the core of every quilt show, there is a quilt art gallery that is curated by someone, sometimes a guild, sometimes a large organization. Some of my team went to the AQS, the American Quilting Society Guild in Branson. And so they had a quilt show there. Those are actual quilts that are submitted by quilters all over the United States. They're submitted and they're juried, they're judged, and they're also appraised. And so in order to be entering a quilt into the National Quilt Show, you have to have it appraised because those travel. So the AQS show in Branson then is going to travel to different places. And so as the show moves it, they want to make sure that if anything happens to those lovely art quilts that they have on display, that they can be replaced. And so we had a member come by our booth and say that she appraised her quilts for $10,500 that she entered into the AQS show, right? These are big, like majestic quilts that are lifetime achievements that are high value that get appraised. So at its core, every quilt show has some measure of quilts on display. It can be even as small as a guild that posts a quilt show inside of a local library. And so we just had one a couple weeks ago in Florissant. We're going to have another one this summer in University City. And it's an opportunity for members of that guild to put their quilts into a show in a library and for the public to come and see and appreciate it. So all quilt shows at their core have that. Now, when we get to the larger guilds, when we get to the larger quilt shows, so there's kind of this inner tier of just quilts, then it can expand and it's going to include things like a vendor show. And so for us, we were a vendor because we are a sponsor of this quilt guild. There were about 25, 30 vendors. That's it. That's a good number of vendors for a local quilt show hosted by a large local guild. And so each vendor puts up a booth and they bring in inventory and they sell it to all the quilters and all the people who want to learn how to quilt and all the people who are just browsing through the show. For us, it's easy, right? We're a quilt shop. So we put out a whole bunch of fabric. We put out a whole bunch of kits. We didn't have yardage. That's super ambitious. Whenever I see a vendor like actually cutting yardage of fabric, my heart goes out to them. That is ambitious. For us, everything is a pre-cut kit or a bundle. Now, also in the vendor area, it's not just quilt shops. There were, of course, 3 or 4 local quilt shops that had booths. There are, Long Armors that have booths that are promoting their services to local quilters, but they also acquire a lot of nonprofits. And so this is a good opportunity for the Guild to show support for organizations in their community that are doing good work. And so City Sewing Room it's a local place here in St. Louis that takes a lot of donations in and teaches underprivileged folks how to sew and to craft in our city. They have a retreat center on the side, but it is a fantastic upcycle. They sell fabric by the pound that they get donated. And so they had a booth, as well as Our Lady of Peace had a booth as well. So they are an organization that brings in, that provides maternity care for women and their children up to the age of 12. And so they had a booth, and our team loved their booth. And so I wanted to show you, this is a necklace that Savannah on my team purchased. And so this is made by the women in the shelter, and they are sold at events like this. And all the money goes back to the shelter to provide future care for other women that come in. So not only when you go to the quilt shows can you see quilting-based businesses, but you can also see service-based businesses that are adjacent to the quilting world. There's also, we were next to a booth where they were making custom quilting shirts. So pick out your t-shirt, pick out your base, and they'll put whatever funny quilting saying you can find in their catalog. And they were custom making shirts there at the show. This is new. This is fun. I see this at soccer tournaments all the time. My kids, I can't even tell you the number of soccer hoodies I have that are made this way, but now it is happening in the quilting world. And so you could get a custom made quilting shirt at a quilt show. There's also a whole bunch of other, any types of things you would see at perhaps a crafting show you would see here. So that is what I would expect you to see at a Quilt Guild show hosted by a large quilt guild. They also will have giveaways. So you could buy raffle tickets and be entered to win a sewing machine. There was a large guild quilt that a whole bunch of people contributed to and sold raffle tickets throughout the year. They also have the opportunity to buy tickets, and you put them in baskets and you win baskets that have been donated by members. And then Dominic's favorite, they had a jar that had a number of bobbins that had embroidery thread wrapped around it, and you had to guess, and whoever got the closest got gift cards. So that's the type of thing that you would expect to see at a local quilt show. It's just fun things. So come and be prepared to be inspired by the amazing quilts. My employees have just been, they took pictures of a ton and have been sharing them with each other of just all the different quilts that happen outside of the cotton cuts world. There's giveaways, there's drawings, there's raffles, and there's vendors. Now, if you go to the AQS quilt show and you go to the larger quilt shows that travel and move around, not only will you have the quilt show and the vendors, but at a larger scale, like several hundred vendors. You're also going to find classes. And so this is an opportunity for them to bring in national instructors to teach. My folks were blown away by the color theory classes they took. That's not something that they necessarily have access to here in our local market, but because of the larger show, they can bring in a bigger educator and teach a class of 30 to 40 to 50 people. And so that is, of course, awesome and amazing. It's a great opportunity to learn. You're not necessarily constricted to the speakers that your local quilt shops or your local guilds can bring in, but it's a good platform to get exposure to bigger stage instructors to learn more and enhance your skills. Now, usually if you're going to an AQS show or you're going to a larger produced show, Road to California, for example, that's a couple-day experience because you want to make sure you allocate a day or two to the quilts. You want to make sure you allocate time to classes, and you want to make sure you allocate time to the vendors to see the things that you might not necessarily see in your local quilt shop. So that's where like Paducah has the biggest quilt show that's coming up here in April. That's a multiple day event. You definitely don't want to just go and try and do it all in one day. You'll be exhausted and tired. All right. Let's see here. I want to make sure I get back to my list. So I'm seeing that Madam Michelle Sharon was also in Branson this past weekend too. That was a fantastic show. My folks really, really liked it. Kathy's saying there used to be a quilt show in Nashville years ago. She never entered a quilt. That's totally fine. You don't have to enter a quilt into the show. That's okay. Just went for inspiration shopping. That's absolutely true. The necklace is amazing, Savannah. All of us, I ended up getting a necklace that had a thread cutter on it, one of those medallion ones with the little blades that you can take on an airplane. In Eastern Ohio, yes. And so I think, Josie, it's one of those ones, I didn't think we had a lot of quilt shows here in St. Louis either, but it's a matter of just, getting in the right Facebook groups and seeing what you can find, because like I said, even those quilt shows at the libraries are just amazing and beautiful and inspiring. And they're put on by guilds that have between 25 and 50 members that can't necessarily afford a big space rental and don't want to charge a lot of admission, but just want to showcase their members' work to inspire others. Let's see here. Oh, Sharon bought a long arm quilting machine. Yeah. So typically if you go to like an AQS, a bigger show, they will have long arm vendors there and you can actually play with and try the machines. So if you've never seen one in person, if you've never gotten to try one, you can definitely try one at the larger shows. A great place to take several classes. Yes. And so I feel like one of the tips that was on the list that Paula pulled is to make sure that you plan ahead. So no matter what quilt show you're going to, plan ahead so you can manage your expectations of how you're going to spend your time. How many quilts are in the show? How many vendors are in the show? And when are the classes and how are they structured? Some of these classes fill up super early. So if we'd have decided last week we wanted to go to Branson, there would have been no way we could have gotten any of those classes. They're going to fill up early. QuiltCon is the same way. Those classes are going to fill up super early, like almost the day they're open. So make sure you're planning ahead so you can allocate your time, but also so you can allocate your money, right? I don't think money grows on trees yet. But you want to make sure that you're allocating your funds. And so if you're taking classes, know that there's a class registration fee. Plus with all classes, there's also supplies and other things that you may have to budget. So I think planning ahead for time and budget is super valuable if you're attending a quilt show, no matter what the size. And also so you're prepared for the things right when you first walk in, the raffles and the entries and all the auctions, making sure that you're prepared for all of that too. Make sure you have cash. I think that's one of those insider tips that with credit card fees, what they are, make sure you have cash. I never have cash. And whenever I go to a quilt show, I need to make sure to remind myself to do that. Savannah's going to the Boston Quilt Show next month. That sounds like that's going to be big and fun and a lot of good time. Let's see here. So, we had a lot of fun vending. We don't do it very often at Cotton Cuts just because it does take a lot of time. It takes a lot of time up front. It takes a lot of time to actually set up, and it takes a lot of time on the end. But I am always overjoyed and excited whenever I see and get a chance to meet you guys. Several of you that are watching me now came up and introduced yourselves, and it's a good time. It's a good way to also meet other people. Lots of hugs given. These are guilds that we've been sponsors of for 8 years that have seen us from when we were like this tiny. And, it was, they all know Lincoln and Dominic. And so Lincoln is now 6'1". And so it's always a great way to get out because what we do is mostly on the internet. It's mostly over YouTube. It's mostly over Instagram. And it is good to just get out and actually see and talk to people. It was so much fun from our perspective. Let's see here. Oh, so Paula wants me to talk about what the difference is between a quilt show and a quilt retreat. And so a quilt show is a lot of, there's the actual quilts that get submitted and are on display. There's the vendors, there's all the giveaways and all the classes. And you go as an attendee and you're learning. There's not usually an overnight in a quilt show. There's not usually like an overnight B&B type of experience. With a retreat, it's more an open area. It's an extended class. It's more intensive. You start sewing as early as possible and you stay sewing as late as possible. And it's really more you sewing on a self-directed project. Occasionally you'll see quilt retreats where they do bring in vendors and there'll be a vendor mall for a period of time for you to go and restock. Occasionally you'll see a quilt retreat that might have a quilt show as an exhibit. That's less commonly tied together. Less frequently do you see a retreat that has a quilt show display and exhibit on it. Oftentimes retreats will take you, instead of having a vendor area, like what we are going to do, they will rent a bus and they will do a quilt shop hop. And so they'll actually take you to the quilt shops all around versus having those set up a vendor booth and purchase from you. Let's see here. I'm seeing Kristen saying someone found you and posted in our quilt Facebook page. They were so happy to meet you. It was fun to throw her a pic. Oh yeah, so we that's also another thing. So we sponsor a lot of folks, guys. And so if you have a quilt show coming up, if you're a part of a quilt guild, reach out to us. We're a big fan of giveaways. We sponsor. We do a lot of things. And there was Kristen. I think I remember the person you're talking about. We've sponsored some challenges for some groups, and she came up and she showed me her challenge fat quarter, and we helped pick out fabric. And she was so excited to take a picture with the people who actually donated things to her group. And so that's the part that I enjoy the most. I mean, yeah, it's good to set up and, sell fabric and see how happy it makes you guys. But I love interacting with you guys. That's my best part. And so, Kristen, thank you for commenting on that. I knew she took the photo was going to do that. All right. If you guys have any questions about quilt shows, put them into the comments. Quilt shows, I know it's kind of you either have a lot or you have not a lot, and it depends on where you are. And if you have not a lot, you have to prepare because you're probably going to want to go to it, and that's travel and that's time. And so they are a lot of fun. I am always so inspired and overwhelmed whenever I go to a quilt show, and I have to come back and decompress, and I have to look at all the photos I've taken. So it is always a good time. I highly recommend it. So our giveaway question this week for hanging with me to the end of the show is to share with us what is or what would be your favorite part of a quilt show that you attended and why. So if you've attended, tell us what inspired you, threw you for a loop, challenged you, inspired you, and why. And if you haven't been to one, what would you most look forward to in a traditional quilt show? Go ahead and find this video on YouTube, on Instagram, and on Facebook. Leave your comment, and we'll pick one lucky winner to win a $25 gift card to our shop. All right, I think that's everything I had on the list. I think, Paula, I've hit all the bullets. Yes, we're good? Oh, yes. She is like, don't forget that Wild West, which is the one thing I did not cover in our updates, has a big reveal coming up next month. Can you believe it? We're about to end Wild West. It feels like we just started it in a blink of an eye. So let's see here. Have I ever come? Marlene's asking if I've ever come to Road to California. So I have not. I've always wanted to. I was too young when I lived in California to go to Road to California, but it is a big quilt show in Southern California. When I have vended at some of these bigger shows, there are people who spend 48 weeks a year as a vendor and go to all the quilt shows, and they restock, and they have houses in multiple states. I have unfortunately never been able to get on that bandwagon, but Road to California is always the one they talk about. There's always a big show in Madison as well. It rivals Road to California in size. It is really big. It is fantastic. All right, everyone's putting up comments for things they like about quilt shows. That's fantastic and amazing. Our reveal is coming up for Wild West. And don't forget Flyaway signups end on April 4th, which is coming faster than you know it. So with that, I'm going to leave everyone to have a fantastic day sewing where it is cold and windy and wet or sunny, wherever you are at. Additional fabrics for Wild West. Karen, I think that's probably going to be about 2 to 3 weeks here. We're getting 9 and 10 off the bolt right after Floral States and Tim Holtz. And so we'll get all those extra fabrics on the website, and we will make sure you guys have an email to let you know. All right, everyone, have a fantastic week. We will see you next week, and I hope everyone gets lots of sewing in. Happy Thursday, enthusiasts. We'll see you soon. Bye now. And cut. Thank you so much for watching our video. We have so much fun making these, and we hope that you were both delighted and inspired by what you just watched. This video was sponsored by Cotton Cuts. Cotton Cuts is your one stop for all the best fabric and thread memberships. Love fabric? We've got you covered. Love thread? We've got you covered. We get that no two quilters are cut from the same cloth, which is why our memberships are as unique as you. We also have the largest block of the month in the world. Over 4,000 detectives solve our puzzle mystery quilts every year, and you can join them. Simply go to cottoncuts.com to learn more about all the awesome and fun things that we're doing. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe to make sure you get all of our new fresh content every time it comes out. Thank you so much. Happy sewing enthusiasts, and we will see you soon. Bye now.